they talking real loud. Spreading on light, trying to bring me down. Enemies lurking, but I won't back away. Got a vision in my mind, I'm here to stay. Got my crew beside me, we rise like a tide. When the storm gets rough, we ain't gonna hide. Propaganda swilling, but it won't touch me. Only love around, that's how it's gonna be. Keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track. In the city lights where dreams collide, we hustle through the night, fire in our stride. Whispers in the dark can't dim my glow. With rhythm in my soul, I'm ready for the show. We break the chains, rewrite the rules in this concrete jungle where nobody's fools. Unity sings louder than the lies they scheme. In the heart of the struggle, we dare to dream. Keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track.
Another Queen Ahmadiyyah production.
Haze on the corner, they talking real loud. Spreading on light, trying to bring me down. Enemies lurking, but I won't back away. Got a vision in my mind, I'm here to stay. Got my crew beside me, we rise like a tide. When the storm gets rough, we ain't gonna hide. Propaganda swilling, but it won't touch me. Only love around, that's how it's gonna be. Keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track. In the city lights where dreams collide, we hustle through the night, fire in our stride. Whispers in the dark can't dim my glow. With rhythm in my soul, I'm ready for the show. We break the chains, rewrite the rules in this concrete jungle where nobody's fools. Unity sings louder than the lies they scheme. In the heart of the struggle, we dare to dream. Keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track. Haze on the corner, they talking real loud. Spreading on light, trying to bring me down. Enemies lurking, but I won't back away. Got a vision in my mind, I'm here to stay. Got my crew beside me, we rise like a tide. When the storm gets rough, we ain't gonna hide. Propaganda swilling, but it won't touch me.
Nobody knows why liars lie. Winners are not allowed to allow losers to rewrite history. It's God's side and the other side. Country bumpkin black dude that can't talk good over cabbage and look like Mr. Potato Head.
I didn't want to be a movie star.
No, you couldn't be a movie star. Ricky Smiley can't act, cause Ricky Smiley can't act. Why is he in a dress again? He didn't be wanting to Barbie, and you gotta tell him no. Said ain't got no special, you remember? Steve ain't got no special, you remember? Ricky ain't got no special, you remember? Sir, I have 12 comedy specials. P. Diddy or whoever you is, TVJ, 20 of them. I won't stop burning you down until there ain't nothing left. Rubble on top of rubble, and I'll still be bombing. Look like a wall, Richie. Look like a wall, you didn't say no. Look like a wall, Richie. Look like a wall, you didn't say no.
All right, hello everyone. Thanks for tuning back in once again to the original Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur show. I'm your host, Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur, and this is your daily vitamins. So as you're coming in, please feel free to go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Be sure to click that notification bell and click the word all so you're notified each time the Queen Guidance goes live. All right, so before we get started, as per usual, let's have a brief word from my sponsor at 12 Tribes.
Do not buy 12 Tribes on Earth hair growth oil and hair magic elixir unless you want super healthy, gorgeous hair that grows. They have a whole line of amazing hair growth products, including hair growth leave-in conditioner spray, hair growth shampoo, hair growth spray, and hair growth butter. I'm starting to sense a theme here. They include quality natural ingredients. They smell amazing, and you can see the results for yourself. So if you're looking for healthy hair growth for your natural or relaxed hair, try 12 Tribes on Earth today.
Okay, so don't forget you can purchase 12 Tribes Hair Oil at Etsy.com. Just look for Lisa Crafts. And you can also find it at Walmart.com. And she sells beard oil. Okay, all right. Shout out to We the People, Nessa G. All right, Cherokee Descendant Dale is in the virtual building. Let's get into it. All right, Bronze Flat Power God, Desmond is here. Shout out to my moderators because y'all know they be putting in work. Hadassah is here, Carlton. Okay, so shout out to all the loyal royals and everyone tuned into the Queen. Now let's get into it. First things first, Charlie Kirk's alleged killer Tyler Robinson appeared in court for the first time. So let's go to this report. And by the way, Trump is making all kind of crazy threats to Venezuela and has snatched their oil tanker. Okay, he has seized it. So we got to get into all this stuff that they have going on. Kristi Noem got upset, walked out of a hearing because they were dragging her for filth. It's all going down. Okay, let's get ready to get into it. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. Thank you in advance.
And I recognize Mr. Robinson in the courtroom as well. Good afternoon. And for the benefit of the record, calling case 251-403-576, State of Utah versus Tyler James Robinson. Council, as we're moving forward today, I want to give an overview of what we anticipate doing. And it comes down, we're addressing three issues. The first is the October 14th, 2025 audio recording of the closed hearing and the October 24th, 2025 transcript of that hearing. The second is the state's motion to amend or clarify the publicity order, commonly known or referred to as the gag order. And finally, the motion for limited intervention and request for notice of motions to close, seal, or reclassify, and which has been filed by the media organizations and by council who are present today. So as we begin, the first part is we'll begin by addressing the October 14th audio recording and the October 24th transcript. This portion of the hearing will be closed so that I may hear from the parties regarding which portions of the recording, the record should remain sealed. All members of the public and the press will be excused, and the hearing will not be broadcast. This is because I need to hear what should or should not be sealed or protected, and it would not benefit to have everyone listen to what should be sealed. And so after I've heard argument, we will invite all parties or the public and the media to come back in, and the hearing will resume transmission. We will then take up the motion for limited intervention, followed by the state's motion to amend or clarify the publicity order. These portions, the last two portions, will be open to the public and to the press. After hearing argument on all three matters, I will take a brief recess and then return to issue my ruling today. We will then stand in recess. So at this point, we'll go ahead and excuse the public and the media, and it is the court's order that transmission be terminated temporarily.
Your Honor, we have one request with respect to the closed hearing. May I be heard on that?
Yes, counsel.
Thank you. Richard Novak for Mr. Robinson. Mr. Robinson has some immediate family members who are present, his father, his mother, and his brother. And we would ask the court to permit them to remain in the courtroom during the closed portion of the hearing.
To the state.
My only concern with that, Your Honor, is that we're going to be talking about court security measures. And I don't know that we'll have to go into a lot of detail about that, but I do have concerns about those issues being discussed in public.
All right. Mr. Novak, do you have authority that supports allowing them to remain in a closed hearing?
No, I think it's subject to the court's discretion to decide who is and is not an appropriate member of the public. I think they have a unique relationship with Mr. Robinson, and they would certainly abide by any orders the court makes concerning disclosure of what is discussed in closed session. But obviously, it's up to the court.
Thank you, Mr. Novak. I'm going to rule that they will be excluded as well. It is just given the nature and the sensitivity of it. I believe it is appropriate to treat all parties and the public equally, though I do recognize their relationship with Mr. Robinson. Thank you for your request.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our News Nation app right now on
I mean, that was short and sweet. So the judge wasn't trying to hear it, or the prosecution really didn't want them in there. That was obvious. Christopher said, I don't trust his people. And then talking about they might get violent in the courtroom. Christopher, I don't think they would get violent in the courtroom. I mean, I don't see why they would. I don't see why they would, beloved. But hold on, let's go to this next report and see if they gave us any more details. It said, I don't trust his people. I wonder if Erica Kirk is going to be attending any of these hearings. I wonder if Candace is going to be attending any of these hearings. They both have, well, Candace specifically has so much to say.
The man charged with Charlie Kirk's murder is in court today. Attorneys for Tyler Robinson are continuing their push to restrict media access to the proceedings, including a ban on cameras. Robinson faces aggravated murder charges for the fatal shooting of the conservative activist back in September during an event at Utah Valley University. Going live to CBS News Justice correspondent Scott McFarland now. Scott, why would Robinson's lawyers want to limit media access inside the courtroom, do you think?
There have been so many requests from so many different media outlets to open up more of what's happening in this landmark criminal prosecution. This is a one-of-a-kind case with unique interests, not just nationwide, but worldwide. And there are some considerations the court has to take into what it wants to open up, what it wants to release in terms of the paperwork, the filings, and what it wants to show to the public in a state where cameras are permitted in the courtroom. There's been this rapid series of high-volume court filings on the issue over the past few days, and there was, at some point this afternoon, an open session of a hearing on the matter, but most of it has been behind closed doors. As you can imagine, if you're going to talk about what the public should and shouldn't hear, you have to have those deliberations out of the view of the public and then reveal what's deemed to be admissible publicly.
And Scott, you also have some breaking news on a grand jury's refusal to re-indict New York Attorney General Letitia James. What can you tell us about that?
It is exceptionally rare for a federal grand jury to reject the request for an indictment by the U.S. Department of Justice when it presents its case behind closed doors. Not only did a grand jury in Alexandria, Virginia today decline the latest effort by the Department of Justice to indict Letitia James, it's the second grand jury to do so in as many weeks in Virginia. The Department of Justice has just swung twice and missed twice, trying to get a fraud case against Letitia James. They accuse her of engaging in fraud to secure a mortgage for a house in Virginia. She has denied those allegations from the start. A few weeks ago, there was a case filed and agreed upon by a grand jury against Letitia James, but it was dismissed by a judge who said the prosecutor on the case was unlawfully appointed to the position. So the department has tried twice since to get that case resuscitated and failed. It is a statement when a grand jury says no to a request for an indictment by the feds, and there are now two different grand juries who have just made the same statement. But one source tells CBS News the Department of Justice could try again with a different grand jury in Virginia, in Richmond, next week.
Scott McFarland, thank you so much.
Okay, so with that all being said, listen, I don't know why they are still trying to keep going after Letitia James. They've already been denied and still keep coming back, and also saying that they're not quite sure they're not gonna whether or not they're going to try to come after Comey again. Also crazy. Now they say doubly humiliating. Lindsay Halligan, DOJ again failed to get grand jury to indict Letitia James. I mean, they know that lady was not supposed to be holding that position. So what is their argument? They don't have one. Okay, they don't have a leg to stand on as far as I'm concerned. Just making fools of themselves.
Shopping. This is beyond shopping. This is finding.
Good news, bad news, I guess. The blows keep coming for Donald Trump's retribution campaign. For the second time in 2 weeks, a grand jury refused to indict New York Attorney General Tish James for mortgage fraud. that news, according to two sources familiar with the presentation of evidence in this case. The DOJ has been trying to refile this case against Tish James after it was dismissed by a federal judge who ruled that the appointment of Donald Trump's handpicked U.S. Attorney Lindsay Halligan was unlawful. A Justice Department spokesperson declined to comment. An attorney for Tish James, Abby Lowell, told MS Now in a statement this, quote, "This unprecedented rejection makes even clearer that this case should never have seen the light of day. Career prosecutors who knew better refused to bring it, and now two different grand juries in two different cities have refused to allow these baseless charges to be brought. In addition, a federal judge threw out the first indictment, pointing to the illegal appointment of a prosecutor put in place to carry out the president's revenge."
Put in place to carry out the president's revenge and say the case has been a stain on the department's reputation. Exactly. Just like Donald Trump is a stain on America's reputation. Okay, to say the least. All right, Durrani said Trump is the real fraud. Of course he is. Of course he is. Now he needs to sit down somewhere because it's not happening. Okay? These are trumped up charges. Nobody in their right mind wants to, try to take this lady to court over this foolishness. And again, Lindsay Halligan was not even supposed to be in that position lawfully. All right, but now let's talk about his next move. Okay, because he has taken over a Venezuela oil tanker. And now they say Putin is reacting with support for Venezuela. Oh, I bet that's got to hurt Trump's little feelings. Let's get into it. Likes up, everyone, please. A like and share. What is really going on? Okay, out here bullying people. Looks like Putin might be about to bully him.
You probably know we've just seized a tanker on the coast of Venezuela, a large tanker, very large. Largest one ever seized, actually.
The United States is ramping up its military operations off the coast of Venezuela, and this time seizing an oil tanker. Take a look at this new video to our monitors here showing that operation. President Donald Trump confirmed the operation during a roundtable with tech leaders just yesterday. Now, this is the first U.S. seizure of an oil cargo from Venezuela. It's also the Trump administration's first known action against a Venezuela-related tanker since ordering a massive military buildup in the Caribbean. Venezuela is now accusing the U.S. of, quote, blatant theft and international piracy. CBS News senior national security correspondent Charlie D'Agata has those details.
Venezuela has condemned the seizure of its oil tankers, international piracy, and brazen theft. We're learning that Russian President Vladimir Putin, in a phone call with Venezuela's Nicolas Maduro, expressed solidarity with the Venezuelan people. Some Democratic lawmakers are expressing concern. Senator Rand Paul saying it sounds a lot like the beginning of a war. Chris Coons says he is gravely concerned Trump is sleepwalking us into a war with Venezuela. And certainly seizing that oil tanker yesterday has taken tensions with Venezuela to a whole new level. We're learning more of what looks like a multi-agency operation with the backup of the U.S. military, the FBI, and Homeland Security were involved, and elite Coast Guard Special Operations Forces called Maritime Security Response Teams, including sailors and Marines from the USS Gerald R. Ford aircraft. That's the largest and most advanced aircraft carrier in the world. They all took part. Officials tell us the interdiction took place without incident. That's a military term. No injuries to anyone, including the crew of the tanker. Is reportedly full of oil and is headed to Cuba. We've tracked that tanker as it entered the Caribbean from the Middle East, from the Far East. And the U.S. has sanctioned Venezuela's oil companies for years, but this specific tanker was seized because it was on the U.S. Treasury's Department's specially designated nationals list for carrying that sanctioned oil from places like Venezuela and Iran, though that was under a different name. And Attorney General Pam Bondi says that makes that ship a legitimate target. So this is all part of the pressure campaign against Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro and his government, in addition to sanctions, dozens of strikes on suspected drug boats, and that massive military buildup that gets bigger by the day. President Trump saying Maduro's days are numbered, and he has not ruled out a land invasion. And despite those sanctions, there are plenty more oil tankers going in and out of Venezuela. Back to you.
Charlie D'Agata there. Thank you. Let's go live now to the White House and CBS News White House reporter Willie James Inman. Willie James, thanks for your time today. Did the president say what the U.S. plans to do with the oil?
Hey there, Mugo. Well, the president did touch on the situation off the coast of Venezuela with the U.S. taking possession of this large oil tanker. The president said is one of the largest seizures ever of this type of oil tanker. But he did touch on potentially what we could see next, but also the situation at hand. Take a listen to what the president said yesterday. Okay, I'm told that we don't have that sound from the president, but he did say that we'll keep it, I guess. And a reporter in the room asked him, where does it go, what port it would go to? And the president simply said that you'll have to follow the tanker. So certainly this is a situation in which the U.S. Appears to have escalated this push against Nicolas Maduro, the leader of Venezuela. Of course, we know that the U.S., the president in particular, has blasted Maduro, essentially saying that he's the head of a drug cartel. We, of course, know that oil is a big moneymaker for Venezuela. So the U.S. taking possession of this sanctioned oil tanker certainly is a escalation of sorts. It's unclear what happens with the oil, but the president seemingly saying that we'll potentially keep it. But it's unclear what will happen next from there, though.
Yeah, and Willie James, you obviously mentioned Venezuela's president, Nicolas Maduro there. Is this all part of an effort to remove him from power?
Well, the president has been asked this multiple times, including this week in an interview with Politico, but he was also asked this question by our own reporter, I should say, on 60 Minutes. He was talking to about this situation, I should say, in terms of what could potentially happen to Maduro. Take a listen.
On Venezuela in particular, are Maduro's days as president numbered?
I would say, yeah. I think so, yeah.
So that's Nora O'Donnell there, of course, the correspondent for 60 Minutes, asking the president that question in terms of what happens to Maduro. The president has demurred in terms of regime change, in terms of if Nicolas Maduro would perhaps stay in power. And the president hasn't ruled out a military escalation in terms of striking those military targets, those drug cartels in Venezuela.
I told you all that Trump wanted those people's oil. I told you all that. And now they're saying lawmakers, here's what the lawmakers have to say about the U.S. seizure of the oil tanker off the coast of Venezuela. I'm pretty sure that the GOP agrees with Trump, as per usual. Okay, as per usual, until the ish hits the fan. Then they're going to all be running scared.
The Maduro and President Trump wanting to get him out of office. Your thoughts on these latest strikes and the oil tanker?
Well, as you know, Iran and Russia, for that matter, have been expert at evading sanctions. And this is going to increase the pressure on Iran, which continues to try to reconstitute its nuclear program after President Trump acted so decisively in setting it back. But Maduro is hosting Iranian influence and terrorist organizations from Hezbollah in Iran, and they're working with the narco traffickers in exporting poison that's killing hundreds of thousands of Americans. So I support the president's efforts to not only put pressure.
Notice how he's parroting Trump's idiotic talking points as though they're facts and as though they've shown proof of these facts. Saying that they're transporting this poison and it's getting to hundreds of thousands of people. Where's the proof? Because we all know that the real drug route comes from Colombia, not Venezuela. Okay? So they're full of crap. These people just keep lying.
On Iran, but also to convince Maduro that he needs to leave and they need democratically elected leadership.
Where do you stand with the war powers resolutions right now in terms of bipartisan lawmakers that think Congress should have a voice in the overall wider campaign?
In terms of Venezuela?
In Venezuela, yeah.
Well, I think the president is operating with his authority. I certainly think that Congress should be a partner in supporting the administration when it comes to stopping this poison from leaving South America and coming to our streets and communities. And
Just listen to how he keeps using buzzwords. This poison, it keeps coming to our streets and communities. Let me tell you something. That man lives in the suburbs. If you think there's people out there peddling illegal substances in his neighborhood, okay, on corners or wherever else, okay, he needs to sit down somewhere. He really needs to cut it all out. Trying to make it sound so desperate, like it's such a desperate situation that they're doing everything and all that they can to stop it. Please.
Schools. So I'm more than happy to have that conversation. I don't know whether any of our Democratic colleagues are actually interested in working on a bill that would actually make Congress a partner with the administration. In the absence of that, I support what the president's doing.
Smile Zemi. The Smile Zemi.
Y'all hear this? The last thing we need is for Congress to partner with this administration, as nefarious as they are and corrupt and all the lies that they've been telling and likely fraud and money laundering, in my opinion. Okay? So that everything will just go exactly the way Trump wants it without any opposition from anyone. I mean, quite frankly, it does seem like Congress is already going along with him for the most part. Okay? He's getting away with murder, literally. Literally, okay? Those airstrikes on those boats, murder. All right? That's what I'm talking about. Now, with that all being said, let's go to Kristi Noem, because they were just accusing her of perjury, going in on her. She was probably lying through her teeth, I'm pretty sure. I mean, she is on Trump's, one of Trump's people. Effing disrespectful. Noem hearing descends into chaos. All right, let's go to this one. This is a report from Fox News, and there's a couple of others. Let's get into it. Likes up, everyone. Please like and share.
Put into place under the rules established by the Biden administration.
Reclaiming my time. I don't want to file perjury charges against you, but I'm of the opinion that the Trump administration, DHS, your DHS, approved the asylum application.
The asylum application moved forward under all of the information and vetting processes that were put in place under the Biden administration, which is when vetting happened. And that's what President Trump has changed. Under President Trump's administration.
Claim my time again.
When
it's obvious you don't want to answer the question. Mr. Kent, do you want a shot at it?
The individual was vetted to serve as a soldier in Afghanistan, and that vetting standard was used by the Biden administration as a ruse to bring him here. Had we followed the standard operating procedures for special immigrant visas, that individual and none of the allies welcome people would have come to America. That's on Joe Biden.
Gentlemen's time has expired.
That was the answer.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman. That was a murder that took place in D.C. It was not an unfortunate incident. And those comments are effing disrespectful.
Who is it?
I expect better from the
It's not a valid point of order. I will now recognize the gentleman from Texas, former chairman, Mr. McCall, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Madam Secretary, great to see you. This hearing reminds me of the novel A Tale of Two Cities. They see it, the Dems see it as the worst of times, but I see it really as the best of times. And what do I mean by that? Under the Biden administration, 15 to 20 million illegal aliens, unvetted, as you indicated, came into this country. What I think most disturbing is Director Kent's testimony. 18,000 known or suspected terrorists got into this country under the Biden administration. That's why we impeached Mayorkas. I was one of the managers. He told his Border Patrol, you don't have to pay attention to federal law when it says shall detain aggravated felons. He disregarded federal law and says, you know what, may detain. It's discretionary. And guess what? We have thousands of aggravated felons now, or if not millions, in this country today. That was the worst of times. Let me go to the best of times. Most secure border I've seen in my 22 years in Congress. And I've dealt with this for a long time. Coming from Texas, being chairman of this committee, the daily crossings are 95% down from the prior administration. That's the best of times. Zero catch and release. My very first bill in Congress 22 years ago was to end catch and release. 22 years later, we finally have achieved that goal. That, Madam Secretary, is the best of times, an all-time record low. America is safer today. I feel so. And when I look at the Venezuelan vessels attacked, the president had every right under the Constitution, Article 2, international waters, cartels designated as FTOs, coming into our country to spread poison to kill Americans. If that's not self-defense, I don't know what it is. And then finally, Madam Secretary, thank you for taking out the shadow Iranian oil tankers headed from Venezuela to Cuba, getting around our sanctions that Congress passed. I'm filing.
Now, I want you all to pay attention because he too is using the buzzwords poison, spreading poison to kill Americans and all this, that, and the third. Here's the thing. If anybody is bringing illegal substances here, it is up to the people to take those illegal substances. No one is forcing it on them. These people are consciously choosing to be addicts. Okay? I just want to put that out there because they didn't have the same energy and fire when it was crack. And it was people who looked like me who had the rug problems. Okay, but let's continue. And also just keep in mind that none of the stuff that they're saying is actually true because this stuff is not coming from Venezuela and they know it and we know it. But let's keep talking. Let's keep going.
We're seeing an administration flexing its muscle in this hemisphere, which has been neglected for so many years. So air, land, and sea is your charge. It's the military's charge as well. I see the land secure. I see the maritime borders getting more secure, and I applaud you for that. On the air secure piece, I chair the Special Events Task Force. That's FIFA, the Olympics, the 250th anniversary. Drones are the biggest threat as I see it. I see it in Ukraine and its conflict with Russia.
I've heard enough from him. Let's move on. Likes up, everyone. Please like and share. Thank you.
This about an hour ago, Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem faced a line of tough questions from Democrats in a House committee hearing over worldwide threats to our own homeland. Among the topics, immigration, Venezuela, and funding for FEMA and counterterrorism efforts. So at one point, Representative Timothy Kennedy of New York blasted Noem for slashing federal dollars to his state's Homeland Security program fighting terrorism. Listen.
Yes or no? Would you say New York City is susceptible to these kinds of security threats?
Yes, and that's why they should spend.
So with New York City being the number one terrorist target in the nation,
the federal government gave them.
With New York City being the number one, I reclaim my time. With New York City being the number one security threat in this nation, it's unconscionable that you would cut $134 million in urban area security initiative funding for the city of New York. What compelled you to knowingly make our cities less safe with these funding cuts?
What compels you, your mayor, and your governor to release thousands of criminals on the streets rather than to turn them over to ICE? You'd rather release
Secretary Noem,
a murderer out on.
All of these people that deal with Trump, his entire cabinet, all of his little minions, all they ever do is gaslight and deflect. They never answer the questions directly. Well, what are you going to do about this and that? They never answer the questions that they're asked. All they do is gaslight and deflect. It is sickening. All of these people mimic and parrot everything that Trump does and says. Okay, says, I don't fully agree. Addiction is very real, sadly. And nonetheless, people choose to be addicts, okay? Nobody forces you. At the beginning of the day, when you first start using illegal substances, before you actually become a full-on addict, you choose to use the illegal substances. And that's my opinion, okay? That's not my opinion. That's a fact. Okay, you choose to use it. Now, you may become an addict and have a sickness, disease, or whatever you want to call it. The bottom line is you chose to take those illegal substances. That's just what it is, as far as I'm concerned, beloved. Thank you for your insight into the topic and your contribution to the channel. And like I said, they didn't have that same energy when it was people who looked like me. They weren't saying that it was a health concern then. They weren't saying that it was a disease then. They weren't saying any of that. They were demonizing and vilifying the Black people. Okay, so I'm gonna have the same energy for them as they had for us.
You cut $134 million
our
in
detainers. You should
funds
honor our detainers.
to support the
Yes, violent
security
criminals
of
to get
New
them
York
out of
City
City.
and the state of New York, the number one threat in this nation. In your own words, your cuts are blatantly political, callous, and outright dangerous.
So joining us live to break all of this down is CBS News national security contributor Sam Vinograd. Sam, I hope that you were able to translate there. They spoke over each other so much. It's really hard to understand exactly what the hell either one of them are talking about. Did we get any clear idea of why cuts to FEMA and security programs are happening?
Well, there were various explanations given by the Secretary of Homeland Security for why DHS did cut FEMA grants to New York. In the part of the clip that you just aired, she did seem to imply that these cuts were a result of New York City not doing what the Trump administration would have liked when it came to immigration enforcement. She also mentioned the fact that there were unspent or undispersed funds that New York City could have relied on rather than new funding. So whether it was a political argument, a fiscal argument, or somewhere in between, it was frankly really hard to tell. And Reed, this wasn't the only instance of the secretary and other witnesses speaking at the same time as members of Congress. His hearing got very contentious at various junctures.
Well, one of the other big topics here was immigration. What stood out to you with those conversations, Sam?
Well, as someone who did serve in the Biden administration, I was really struck by the continued focus on security threats posed by individuals who came into this country lawfully, not illegally, but lawfully under the Biden administration. When asked about the biggest threat facing this country, I believe it was the director of the National Counterterrorism Center who said it was the folks that came here under the Biden administration, under, for example, various parole programs and otherwise. And there was also a very unique exchange between a member of Congress and a senior FBI official. Director Patel did not show up for this hearing, in which the FBI official, Michael Glasheen, said that the biggest terrorism-related threat facing this country came from Antifa, but was unable to really provide specifics on the number of individuals associated with Antifa in this country, what their structure looks like, and otherwise. So there were a lot of accusations thrown around about threats associated with Antifa and individuals who came here under the Biden administration, but not a whole lot of specificity.
All right, Sam Vinograd, thank you so much for that conversation. Appreciate it so much. Good to see you, as always.
Okay, Robert said because the money got stolen, what did Doge find? Has that fraud been identified and made public? No. Okay, no, we don't have answers. All right. They told us about a whole bunch of fraud and spending and this, that, and the third, not providing any receipts. That's what they didn't do. They didn't provide any receipts, beloved. Okay. And they never do. They just tell us whatever they want us to hear and leave it at that. And we're supposed to just go along with it and believe the bull crap.
News. Secretary Kristi Noem has just left the hearing room. That's where the Secretary of Homeland Security was facing fierce questioning on Capitol Hill. Today's House Homeland Security Committee hearing is her first public testimony since back in May. So we will look into why she left. But this all comes as a federal judge in Maryland has just ordered Kilmar Abrego Garcia be immediately released from ICE custody. You'll recall he was deported to a prison in El Salvador in March in defiance of a court order. He was returned to the U.S. in June to face human smuggling charges. Those are charges he denies and his attorney says are politically motivated. The new ruling, which a DHS official slammed as judicial activism and is vowing to appeal, was issued just as Noem's hearing got underway. So let's bring in NewsNation's Joe Khalil live on Capitol Hill. Joe, what more can you tell us about why Secretary Noem left the room?
Well, she does have a 1 o'clock event today dealing with FEMA. So presumably we knew there was a chance you might leave the committee hearing early if it was going late. But I got to show you, before we get into the substance, Nicole, of what happened inside of the hearing, because there's a lot of that. This scene right here is pretty unusual. As the secretary came out of the hearing room, she was sort of surrounded by protesters who got very, very close to her. And I have to say, we see protesters all the time, especially with high-profile figures in many administrations. We always see that. But typically, the hallways are more sort of locked down and protesters separated so that the secretaries or whomever it is can walk through sort of unabated and just leave as they typically do. That's not what happened in this case. Again, she was pretty well swarmed. There was a protective detail around her that escorted her from the hearing room, which is about 40 yards from where I'm standing now. But she went into a room that is just around the corner here, and this crowd has just stayed here, presumably waiting for her to come out of that room. She's not left the building yet. She's in one of the committee sort of aside rooms. So it was just a remarkable thing. I've covered a lot of hearings. I haven't seen anything like that. In the melee of it, we tried to get a question into the secretary. It was just too hectic. I doubt she heard me, and we didn't really, have that opportunity. When it comes to the hearing itself, obviously this is about threats to the homeland. So we heard a little bit about the Venezuela situation. I was surprised we hadn't heard more. Okay, we're going to follow here. I believe the secretary just left the room. And again, this is a bit of what I'm talking about from before. Okay, now so you can see Capitol Police have set up a barrier that they're not letting people beyond, and Noem is leaving without the crowd following her. This is what is more typical, right? What you're seeing right now in real time is what we always see. The Capitol Police will stop protesters from sort of following. But again, that was why it was so surprising beforehand that we didn't see it happen that way. Back to the hearing, there was a lot of focus on ICE and on ICE detaining people. You had Democrats bringing up stories about people who were American citizens and green card holders who were detained in some cases and held for 72 hours or more. You also had people who, for example, angel moms, people who have actually lost their children to killings from people who were in the country illegally. Noem talked a lot about that. She obviously talked about how, in her view, the Biden administration left, in her words, a mess that she says her department is still cleaning up. It was also brought up the National Guard shooting, those 2 National Guard soldiers that were killed last week, and exchanges back and forth about who was responsible for that kind of thing. I want to play one exchange that was on asylum and whether the deportations we've seen are legal or are not legal, as some Democrats have suggested. Here's the exchange, Secretary Noem responding to questions.
This is
well, I wrote you 2 months ago. Why haven't you given it to me yet?
I'm actually surprised that you haven't gotten it. I'm going to ask my staff about that.
Well, you shouldn't be surprised because generally speaking,
hundreds and thousands of your letters.
Now, the other problem that we are seeing all over the country is that your officers are wearing masks, are dressed in plain clothes, often going around without identification. I'm not asking a question.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our News Nation app.
Okay, he cut her right on off. He said, I'm not asking a question. All right. And what was she doing in that room for so long? In there hiding? Didn't want to face the music, clearly. These people are awful. Okay, mimicking all of Trump's talking points, just doing whatever Trump tells them. Mel says Trump back redistricting plans fails in Indiana. Oh yeah, that's what we're about to talk about right now. I'm glad you brought that up. Okay, Miss Treese says tuning in late. How you feeling, Queen? Know you've been under the weather. Hey, Loyal Royals. I'm doing good, beloved. Thank you for asking. Okay, I appreciate you, and thank you for your kind words and your contribution to the channel. Peace, love, and blessings. Okay. Now, with that all being said, also Dynamic Quality Universal Sonor, thank you for your contribution to the channel, beloved. If I forgot to tell you, I appreciate you. Peace, love, and blessings, and your insight into the topic. Okay, now let's go to this about Trump's being rebuked and rejected for his redistricting push in Indiana. I know his face is cracked and he's likely crying in the car. Let's get into it. Here we go.
And his allies, they wanted state Republicans to redraw state congressional maps mid-decade. Will there be consequences for the state of Indiana for this major Trump rebuke?
This is CNN Breaking News.
Welcome to The Lead. I'm Jake Tapper, and we are following this breaking news moments ago. Indiana State Senate Republicans rejected President Trump's intense push to enact a new congressional map ahead of 2026. The 31-19 vote saw 21 Republicans joining 10 Democrats to vote down this new congressional map that would have favored Republicans in all 9 congressional districts and eliminated its 2 currently held by Democrats seats. The vote holds massive implications for the 2026 midterms for Republicans as President Trump threatens serious consequences for those who voted against his wishes and even against the state of Indiana. I want to bring in CNN's Jeff Zeleny and Kristi Noem. And Jeff, first to you.
Here's the thing. I want you all to pay attention. They said Trump threatened serious consequences for those who voted against him. Okay, he's normalizing this, all right? He's trying to bully people into submission, okay, to the point that no one is going to be, no one is going to be able to stand up to him. That's what he wants, okay, without fear of retribution. And that's going to work for a lot of people. It's already working. Please pay attention.
We knew there were Republicans reluctant to redrawing these congressional maps mid-decade, but did anyone really expect a vote total like this, or a resounding rejection against President Trump?
Jake, they did not. Certainly the White House and the president's allies did not. Even Indiana Republicans are somewhat surprised by the margin. But again, 21 Republicans voting with Democrats to reject this push by the White House. This, without question, as we near the end of the year here, is the biggest rebuke that President Trump has taken, politically speaking, in ruby red Indiana. Of course, he's still popular there. There's no question if he ran again, he would win there. But this is a sign that all Republicans are not going to follow lockstep what he does. And Jake, I was watching the debate this afternoon. It was about 3 hours of debate. And it was extraordinary, actually, for all the national implications of this. This was actually very much a local debate. And what the White House was asking Indiana to do was redraw these districts that were effectively going to take away representation from some parts of the state and lump them into larger districts. There were concerns from rural senators, from some urban senators as well, specific concerns about the economy in northern Indiana. Would they be represented? So at the end of the day, when you watch this debate, it was much more about local issues. But of course, President Trump was trying to make the case that he needed these 2 seats. Of course, this is part of this extraordinary state by state redistricting plan that the president himself engineered several months ago to try and keep control of the House next year. Now, not having these 2 seats makes it more difficult. But the bottom line, a huge political rebuke for President Trump. We'll see if there's any fallout from it. I mean, he threatened primaries against some of these Republicans who voted no. It's a lot of Republicans who voted no. So if that is going to happen, he'll have to find a lot of primary candidates out there. Obviously, Indiana Republicans are not too scared by his threats.
And there's also been talk, Kristen, by some of the president's allies of President Trump withholding federal funding from the state of Indiana. That's just part of this long pressure campaign by Trump and his allies against Indiana Republicans to draw these congressional maps. Have we had any immediate reaction from the White House to this stunning rebuke?
Jake, we have not had any immediate reaction yet. Of course, we've reached out. We're waiting to hear, but there is no doubt that President Trump is going to be exceedingly angry by this result. I want to just pull up one of the things he said last night. This is one of many posts that he made targeting these Indiana lawmakers. He said, anybody that votes against redistricting and the success of the Republican Party in D.C. will be, I am sure, met with a MAGA primary in the spring. But as Jeff said, that's 21 people. That was a huge margin. That's a lot of primarying that President Trump and the White House are going to have to do. And just to give you an example of how caught off guard they were by this huge margin, we saw online some of the president's allies who were part of this effort posting, singling out specific Indiana lawmakers, very much so saying that this is the person driving this, this is the person, or one of these two people are the people who are going to vote against this. Clearly, the fact that they were singling out these individuals shows that they didn't realize what a huge swath of lawmakers was not going to vote in favor of this redistricting. We've already heard from some of these allies who are lashing out at these lawmakers, but I think Jeff said it best, which is that they don't seem to mind. I do think this is going to be quite the blow for President Trump.
Okay, so you all heard that. Hold on, beloved. So how mad is Trump right about now? And a lot of these people are starting to wake up. And some people are just not going to keep dealing with Trump, threatening them and bullying them and all of that. But some of them, they're just going to let him go right ahead. Okay, because they're scared. Look how CBS went ahead and gave him that settlement, knowing darn well that he couldn't have won that in court. Okay, just letting Trump get away with stuff, honey, that's not going to help anything. Hold on. Right. Roddy says first Miami, now Indiana. I mean, it looks like it's all falling apart. Okay. They're not able to indict Letitia James. They're not able to indict James Comey, re-indict James Comey. They might as well just hang it up. Okay. They might as well just hang it up at this point. Now, little Miss Crockett gave a speech today about Breonna Taylor. Okay, this was reported 4 hours ago. She said how Breonna Taylor moved a nation, and now Congress must move the law. Well, I'm waiting to see what they're going to do, because it doesn't seem like Congress is doing too much. Likes up, everyone, please like and share.
There's an old adage that says that if a tree falls in the forest, do you hear it if nobody's there? I'm here to tell you that when we lost Breonna Taylor, we absolutely heard it and we felt it. It felt like an earthquake. You see, Tamika does not know fully the impact, and I don't think she'll ever know the impact of her daughter's life on this country. But at the time, if we go back to March of 2020, when I was still a young lawyer in my mind, and I was practicing law, and I somehow was running for the state house, I had just made it to my runoff. And the next thing you know, they're saying that COVID is coming in. But then the next thing you know, Breonna Taylor is killed. Breonna Taylor then is killed and people started hitting the streets. So I did what I've always done in my civil rights role, is I hit the streets as well. I wanted to make sure that protesters' rights were not going to be violated. And so as we walked through the streets and we said her name, because there were a lot of people that would not say her name and did not want to look out for getting any kind of justice for her, that is what I was doing, is I was in the streets. And here it was, we go through, we're fighting in the streets. That was March of 2020. By May of 2020, we had another person that had been killed at the hands of law enforcement by the name of George Floyd. You see, that was a summer of action for so many, but the question was, would that action continue? Would we turn this moment into a movement, or would we let everything die with their precious souls? The answer for me was no. So interestingly enough, I finished out my race and I actually won it, and I ended up in the Texas State House. There's a bill that I filed as soon as I got there. It was called Breonna's Law. Now y'all know this is down in Texas. So y'all know things are a little interesting in Texas. But let me tell you that even in Texas, even as a freshman civil rights attorney that was doing this because it was the right thing to do, it passed out of our committee with bipartisan support. Unfortunately, they never put it on the floor for a vote, but it would have passed because we had the support of law enforcement. We had the support of activist organizations. This is about what good legislation looks like. And that's what it is. This is about saving lives. Let me tell you something. When a no-knock warrant is actually executed. I don't know how many of y'all really understand how this works. As somebody who's also done criminal defense, a knock warrant ain't nothing. All it is police. That's all it is. That's it. But imagine being in a state like Texas where they say, you know what, everybody can have guns, and frankly, everybody does. And then you're saying that somebody just comes in your home. We have people that are currently sitting on death row because they have shot when somebody came in their home. Listen, this is smart legislation. This is why it's bipartisan. This is why it's bicameral. And all we're asking people to do is get behind it. It is time for us to set aside our differences and do what we all say we want to do, which is to make sure that we are all going to be safe, whether we are on the streets or in our homes. This legislation will prevent others from losing their lives unnecessarily. Brianna should be here. We shouldn't be having this conversation, but we are, because her mama refuses to give up on her daughter. No mother should have to go through what she's went through. But the reality is that God has got her. And that is why she is standing with us today. So I ask you, wherever you are, make sure you call your representative, make sure you call your senators and tell them to sign on to this smart legislation. It is time for us to get smart about legislation, especially in DC.
All right. All right. Shout out to little Miss Crockett for that. Now, as I was saying, these people are sick and tired of Trump trying to bully them. Okay, they say this is an extremely important issue that we've taken very seriously. This is what Bray told reporters after the bill's defeat. Bray downplayed the prospect of retribution from the White House after Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance publicly criticized him and other Republican senators. It's their prerogative to have opinions about what we're doing here. So that's fair, he said. Asked whether he was concerned about possible loss of federal funding or other consequences, Bray appeared unmoved. I've had lots of conversations with folks in Washington, D.C. Indiana will continue to function. A bill needs 26 votes for passage or defeat. Because a constitutional majority, 25 votes or more, voted against the measure. It can't be taken up by state lawmakers again until 2027, the 2027 session. Now, Trump was calling individual senators this week seeking support and took to social media Wednesday night to seethe over Bray and other Indiana Republicans who weren't following his demands. Okay, senators say we can't be bullied. A crowd of about 100 protesters outside the Senate chamber echoed throughout the 3-hour debate, chanting, "Fair maps now," and "Vote no," and "Cheaters," "Liars," and "Just vote no." Brooke Isaac of Columbus and other protesters cheered the outcome, saying she was very surprised and so very thankful. Isaac said that she believed Trump was trying to use Indiana as a pawn to acquire power. I'm just very relieved that the Republicans in our government have decided to show integrity and to stand up for what the people in our state care about, Isaac says. Now, Senator Sue Glick from LaGrange said among the senators voting against the new maps, and said that she believed the pressure and threats from Washington backfired. She said, you have to know Hoosiers, we won't be bullied. We don't want that. And the instant reaction is we dig in our heels and say, why? Indiana House Republicans pushed the proposed maps through that chamber last week by a 57-41 margin, with 12 GOP members joining Democrats in voting no. Several Republican senators against the redistricting plan cited that what they described as overwhelming public opposition. Others said they didn't believe it was proper to overhaul the Republican-drawn maps approved in 2021 for such blatant political purposes, with some objecting to the overt gerrymandering of Indianapolis among 4 districts spanning as far away as the Ohio River. Trump started the national redistricting fight by pushing Texas Republicans to redraw its congressional map this summer, followed by Republican redistricting moves in Missouri, Ohio, and North Carolina. An attempt by Kansas Republicans for a special session on redistricting stalled this fall. Democrats responded with their own redistricting in California and possible moves in Illinois and Virginia. All right. All right. Well, it looks like it's not going like Trump had it all figured out, or the way he quite planned it. Okay, it looks like it's not going the way he had it all planned. With that all being said, and I'm glad to hear it. Okay, I'm glad to hear it. Now let's talk about this coach. Did y'all hear about this coach? I mean, talk about a bad day that got worse. This man ended up getting arrested and detained. They're talking about assault. Hold on, let me pull up the receipts. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. Coach Sharon Moore from Michigan, messing around with the staffer. And this man was making like over $10 million a year and risking it all. Okay, so let's get into it. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. Here we go. I'm going to share my screen.
Well, a surprising firing and a shocking arrest at the same time, rocking the world of college sports this morning. The University of Michigan dismissing football coach Sharon Moore on Wednesday, only for him to be arrested and booked in a county jail. This was hours later. News Nation's Ryan Bass tracking this one for us. So, Ryan, quite a whirlwind in the past few hours. What are you learning about Moore's termination and this investigation underway now?
Yeah, this escalated rather quickly last night, Kelly. I mean, Moore was fired by the university and then hours later was detained. Now, the university is saying that he was dismissed after an investigation found that he had an inappropriate relationship with a staff member, which led to his dismissal. In terms of his arrest, we're still getting some details that are trickling in. But in terms of police, they have arrested Moore, and it's unclear if that is connected to his firing. The incident happened about 30 minutes before Michigan announced his dismissal. Jail records show that the 39-year-old was booked yesterday evening, but don't list charges or a court date just yet. Pittsfield Township Police, without naming Moore, said they responded to an alleged assault and took one person into custody. Now, Michigan's athletic director said that Moore was terminated after an internal investigation found, quote, credible evidence that he had an inappropriate relationship with a staff member, a clear violation of university policy. He added the school has zero tolerance for that kind of behavior. Now, police detained a person that is believed to be Moore just a few miles south of Ann Arbor in the town of Saline, and then turned him over to Pittsfield Township for further investigation. We still don't know what specific charges that Moore could face, and neither the departments of those police departments are saying much, citing the ongoing investigation. Again, we're still learning more and more details earlier this morning. We should have more from those police departments throughout the day today, Kelly, but Moore is coming off back-to-back winning seasons with the Wolverines. By the way, he would be owed $14 million out of a contract buyout. However, since he was fired for cause, Michigan could be off the hook for nearly all of that money, Kelly. We'll certainly learn some more details today.
Yeah, shocking to say the least. All right, Ryan, thank you.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe.
Okay, what an idiot. Let's go to the next report. You know, some people are just ridiculously ignorant to me and just throw caution to the wind. You're going to risk your job, making all that money, a good job, your whole career, just to be messing around with some bimbo at your job? Like, that's so dumb. And you know it's against the policy. Why would you risk it? Okay, out of all these women, you couldn't find one that didn't work with you? Okay, how stupid are you? You can't even feel sorry for people like this. Okay, you just absolutely cannot. Just dumb as a ball of rocks, a box of rocks, as far as I'm concerned.
A bizarre situation continuing to unfold for a now second day around the University of Michigan football team. Second-year head coach Sharon Moore was fired seemingly out of the blue yesterday. And then just hours after that announcement, police in suburban Detroit say Moore had been arrested and was in police custody. Let's bring in News Nation's Ryan Bass. He's been following this story for us. Ryan, what can you tell us? What more can you tell us at this point?
Well, Nicole, I can tell you today there won't be any charges formally filed against Sharon Moore. He remains in the Washtenaw County Jail this afternoon, less than 24 hours after he was abruptly fired by the University of Michigan after an investigation concluded he had an inappropriate relationship with a staffer. Now, police did arrest him last night, but no word on whether that has anything to do with his formal firing. They were called to an alleged assault not long before Michigan announced his dismissal. Jail records show he was booked last night, but there are still no charges or court date posted. Moore was taken into custody in Saline and then handed off to Pittsfield.
Okay, they're not telling us anything new, but here's the thing. No charges. Why? Because it says that basically he was wielding a knife and stalking this woman. Okay, Sharon Moore fallout. 911 dispatch audio includes ex-UM coach wielding knife stalking a woman. Okay, this is all crazy. It's I don't know what. Okay, let's get into it.
They obtained dispatch audio stemming from the alleged Sharon Moore assault, with the woman claiming he attacked her at her home on Wednesday after stalking her for months. Let's take a listen to that.
961-553 for domestic. Subject just called the caller, told her there's a male at the location and the house attacking her. They've been stalking her for months.
Now, the audio states a call was made from a Michigan football employee's address in Ann Arbor around 4 p.m. So let's just talk about the legalities of everything and how to make sense of what's happening right now, what it means for Sharon Moore, what it means for anyone involved. Let's talk to Barton Morris from the law offices of Barton Morris. He joins us live. Barton Morris, so nice to have you here. Always good to talk to you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
So break this down for us. I mean, what can you tell us about the typical legal process when something like this happens, these kind of allegations? What's the legal process tied to it?
Well, it sounds as though the police have received information, credible information, that he had been, Coach Moore had been the assaultant, and so they went and arrested him. That means they have probable cause to believe that he committed a crime. What's going on next is that the law enforcement investigation is turned over to the Washtenaw County prosecutor. They have 72 hours within which to decide what to prosecute him with, issue these charges, file him in court, and then he'll be brought into court to be arraigned on those charges.
Now, when someone is fired for a cause, I mean, what kind of contractual provisions typically come into play?
Well, of course, I mean, he's got a contract and he's fired for cause. He's likely going to lose any guaranteed money or anything that's on his contract. He's got multiple years on his contract left. There's a buyout provision. If they were going to fire him anyway, which was being reported, he would be entitled to a buyout, usually a certain percentage of his salary. But being fired for cause, particularly being fired for improper conduct, that's not becoming of a University of Michigan head coach. He could lose his entire buyout.
Could he challenge this that's happening right now? I mean, under what circumstances might a wrongful termination be something that's flagged?
Sure, of course. He will always have the opportunity to challenge his termination. And there will be hearing about it. There could be a lawsuit about it. And he has the right to do that. And of course, the school, being advised by counsel, probably consulted with their counsel. I'm sure they did prior to making that decision. Everything is happening so very fast. I mean, this just came out less than 24 hours ago, and now he's in jail. So it's not just about being fired. He actually is in custody, being accused of a criminal offense. And so clearly that's going to be something that probably benefits the school as far as contract negotiations.
So, Barton, what legal obligations does the University of Michigan have? I mean, once these allegations, they're starting to surface, and we're starting to hear so many different sides of what things could potentially be. What are their legal obligations here?
Well, obviously, they have an obligation to ensure the safety of their school, of its employees, of its students. and of the football players. I think that we have a person who is now accused of some type of physical assault on an employee. And if it's a female employee with somebody who he had a relationship with, this could be some type of sexual harassment issue. There's stalking that's alleged. These are all violations of the university's Title IX policy of sexual harassment on school grounds. There's going to be the Title IX hearings to make that determination as to what.
It's just all bad, okay? It's all bad. This man has ruined his career and his life, as far as I'm concerned. Okay, just an idiot. Look at him. There's the woman right there. So he likely was just all caught up over this woman, okay? And now you're stalking her? And she looks like a little girl, all right? That's who they said it is, y'all. I find it all interesting. What an idiot. Okay, what an idiot. Too bad and so sad. I hope he's not married, because somebody said he's married. I don't know if he is or not, but that's crazy if he is. Okay, so anyway, with that all being said, speaking of coaches, let's talk about Stefanski. All right, let's talk about Stefanski. Yeah, she does look like she's about 13 years old. You're absolutely right. Okay, looks very young. He's a whole idiot, just ruining your career. I don't know what to say about some of these men out here, honey. Make it all make sense. Oh, well, his problem, not mine. Now, so with that being said, y'all know Kevin Stefanski wants to quit? Yeah, word on the street is Kevin Stefanski wants to leave. Okay, that's what they're saying. They said he wants to leave now. Don't leave now. Browns rumors. Kevin Stefanski wants out. Trade possible. The 2025 NFL season has been a wild one for Cleveland Browns fans. From a quarterback competition between 4 or 5 players that very few believed in, to Deshaun Watson potentially returning from injured reserve, and to the team next year. Browns fans have had a lot of noise around the most important position in all of football. Now, Sh00ter Sanders is the starter for the rest of the year after a big Week 14 performance. Then there have been the rumors about HC head coach Kevin Stefanski and GM Andrew Berry since early in the season. Many have taken Berry off the hot seat due to his 2025 NFL draft class, but Stefanski continues to draw the ire of fans and media alike. From how he handled Sanders to individual decisions, like going for 2 points last week, questions around Stefanski have only grown stronger. So now, according to Albert Breer, okay, they say there comes a rumor that Stefanski may want to get out. Says if you're Kevin and you're making all of these decisions for football reasons, and you've made a lot of other decisions over the years for football reasons, and they're constantly second guessed and everything turns into a circus, would you be sick of it? With Paul DePodesta gone and no plan to replace him, is this a natural point for them to evaluate everything, Breer asked? And now, has this just become, what this hasn't worked out for either one of us over the last couple of years? So maybe it's just time. So he says, I think Stefanski likes the people that he works with. This is just my opinion. I just think so much has happened in the last 6 years. I think it's fair to ask that question. Is this the right mix to go forward with? Okay, so let's go. Hold on. We're going to go to this. I'm going to share my screen. Likes up, everyone. Please like and share. If he does want to leave, that's only because he's likely feels he's going to be fired. Okay, and if I were going to be fired, I think I'd rather quit too. Okay, but that's just me. Okay, hold on, beloveds. Let me get an overlay on here.
That's a tricky.
Do you feel like Stefanski would prefer a clean slate, a fresh start somewhere else?
That's a tricky question. I think I think he likes the people that he works with. I think this is just my opinion. I think he he likes working with the Haslams. I think he's got a good working relationship with them. I think, obviously he and Andrew Berry have a good rapport. I just think so much has happened in the last 6 years. I think it is fair to ask that question, is this the right mix to go forward with? Based on the history that everybody has together. You went through the Baker thing together, the decision making on Baker, which Baker, clearly Baker would have been a better answer at quarterback. You wind up making the trade for Deshaun Watson. Clearly that was a mistake. And you had this core of players that I think was very clearly a playoff caliber core. And because of the
he's just babbling. He's done a whole bunch of babbling. Let's go to what Shannon Sharp and Ocho have to say about it, okay? Because I can't with him. He's just babbling. At the end of the day, like I said, if Stefanski really does want to leave, it's only because he knows he's going to get fired anyway, okay? He just wants to rather say that he quits rather than getting fired. And then also, there could be another team that wants him as their coach. Although I don't know why anybody would, just looking at the last few weeks of how he's been coaching, okay, making a fool of himself as far as I'm concerned. Likes up, like and share. Thank you in advance. Here we go.
In the last couple of years, so maybe it's just time. He's 6-24, 250 win percentage over the last 2 years. He's a two-time coach of the year, Ocho. What are you thinking?
I mean, it's tough. I think Stefanski is in a tough spot. Obviously, with 6-24, having on your resume being coach of the year 2 times, I think that saves you and gives you a little bit more grace. But obviously, you can't operate without a quarterback. You can't operate without a quarterback. So understanding what we've seen from Sh00ter so far, and the stuff and the action that occurred before he was put in position to be the starter. Obviously, you want your best player out there playing quarterback for you that gives you your best chance to win. And most of the time, I say it all the time, Uncle, you say it all the time, players get coaches fired. Players get coaches fired. So for a coach, you would always want to be in a position to have players in there that can do right by you. That can do right by you, not just you, but your team as well, and give yourself a chance and give you some grace and longevity as a coach. So I'm not sure why they're playing, why the games have been played in general in Cleveland. It's been a damn circus, huh? It's been a goddamn circus, Joe. So it just some of the play call. I don't want to get into all that. We've all seen it. We've all heard it. Something's right, and anyone that says it's not right, based on all the evidence that we've seen since the draft up until this point, I mean, you just turn the blind eye to the bullshit.
What if it's a situation, Ocho, where Kevin Stefanski really wanted to play Sh00ter and he was handcuffed?
But hold on.
Yeah, right.
You think that's possible?
That's what it sounds like to me. I mean, if we're to believe what Albert Breer is being reported, how much say do we believe? How much say do we believe that Kevin Stefanski have over the final 53? How much?
Now, Shannon, do not go there. That is not it. Okay, Shannon, that is not it. If Kevin Stefanski was trying to help Sh00ter, but his hands were tied, there would be a difference in his energy when he deals with Sh00ter. He hates to even say Sh00ter's name. Okay, I can count on one hand how many times he's actually said it. He does not like to speak on Sh00ter. He doesn't like to give direct answers when it comes to him. And you can just tell that he does not like Sh00ter. Okay, I'm sorry. Is this all in my head? Is this all in my head? Because if his hands were tied, like I said, that wouldn't have anything to do with him having an air of disdain for Sh00ter, which we all have seen. Okay, I don't agree with that. That's not even a thought.
Say does he have in the draft? How much say does he have in free agency? Does he have say like, say, Mike Tomlin, like an Andy Reid, like a Sean McVay?
Also, why wasn't he giving him any reps with the ones? Okay, even though Dylan was starting, how come he wasn't giving Sh00ter any reps with the ones? Because when Flacco was starting before they traded him, Dylan was sure as hell, even though he was second, he was the backup, he was still getting reps with the ones. So there's that. And also that dumbass move that he pulled on Sunday.
He has a Mike Vrabel. You think he has that kind of say, Ocho?
I would think so.
A Sean Payton.
Two-time coach of the year would have some say so in some of the personnel that he brings in. I would think so. And I told Unc the other night, right, with some of the things that were going on, I felt like basically Kevin Stefanski was basically Nico Harris.
Yeah.
I felt he was
taking the fall. Yeah, you did.
He's taking the fall for the upper management above his pay grade. That owner came out and said, "Listen, this wasn't my pick. I didn't want Sh00ter." So I think he's taking the blunt and all the heat, and his hands are tied. So I mean, Unc, what you said, it might be a possibility where he had no control over it, and maybe he did want him to start the whole time. But there's a pecking order, like we just talked about.
That's what I was
Yeah. There's a pecking order. Third round pick. Oh well, he's a third round pick for a reason. So he's always going to get first dibs, no matter what.
And you're not normally taking quarterbacks a third and because you're asking for trouble. The last time we saw somebody take a quarterback, because look, go back and look at Washington. Mike didn't want to take a quarterback, didn't want to trade that pick. Right. He felt they could sit right there where they were and get the quarterback that they wanted. He really liked Cousins. He felt he could get Cousins where they got Cousins and could be fine.
Yeah.
You're in salary cap hell, because remember, that was the year, that the uncapped year, and everybody dumped all their money in that. Dallas and Washington had to pay all that salary cap money because they had dumped all that in a non-cap year. And the NFL said, nah, you couldn't do that. You're cheating. So they take a quarterback at number 2, and then they turn right around and take Cousins. How do you think this was going to work out, Ocho? You take a quarterback in the 3rd round, and then you take another quarterback in the 5th round? Yeah. How did you think this is going to work out?
I think maybe security. That's the only thing I can think of. Security.
You're asking for trouble.
Understanding that Joe Flacco was going to only give you so much time left at his age. Okay, we got Dylan Gabriel, but are we sure Dylan Gabriel is the answer? You know what? We're not sure, so we're going to take another one.
Why you take it?
Huh?
Who goes into normally that's not how you draft, Joe. You don't draft the guy and say, well, he might not be it. If you think he might not be it, why you draft him?
That's a good question.
But I mean, I'm not going to the store. You buying a car? Man, this car might put me down, but I'm gonna go ahead and buy it anyway.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Joe.
Listen, but when we think about it statistically, from training camp to preseason, Sh00ter has had the best statistics from what we've seen.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So it's like, to me, it almost kind of feels like perfect time. Like you say, Dylan Gabriel went third round, and Sh00ter went 5th. It's kind of a pecking order. I'm kind of picking back what Ocho said. But I think Sh00ter has now took the reins, and I don't think he's going to give it back, man. I don't. No. I think the young man he knows what's at stake. He knows everybody's watching. And, man, he just looked like a guy with a lot of confidence and poise out there. He looked great under center.
And if you think about it, Ocho, look at the guys he was throwing to. All the guys that he was throwing to were the rookies that came in with him.
Ooh. Yeah.
It's not an accident.
Okay, so listen, at the end of the day, Kevin Stefanski doesn't like Sh00ter, never has, and everything he did was his own choice. I don't think anybody made him do anything that he didn't want to do. But what I also find interesting is that Tom Brady, did y'all know Tom Brady had the nerve to come out and try to say something in Sh00ter's defense? Brady, we don't need to hear anything from you. Okay, not a darn thing. He already threw shade at Sh00ter when he was talking about these quarterbacks who don't celebrate with the team. They instead are out there doing stuff on the sidelines. Okay, we know that he's lied and said he didn't have a say-so when Sh00ter was being drafted. He's part owner of the Raiders. Get the F out of here. Not to mention they call him the GOAT, right? Now, here's what he said. I have watched every throw, every run, every time he stood back up after getting after getting hit hard. Nobody understands the weight of carrying a whole team on your shoulders until they have done it themselves. Sh00ter Sanders is fighting for an entire city. Nobody has the right to mock someone who continues to battle the way he does. Let me tell y'all something. Tom Brady can kiss my you-know-what. Let me tell you the reason he's doing this, the same reason there's a few other commentators doing this. These were the people who were hating on Sh00ter, throwing shade, acting like he wasn't who he is, like he's not all that, and a bag of chips and all of that. Now they want to change their tune and act like they're rooting for him, like they've been rooting for him all along. No, you weren't. If you weren't rooting for him from the get-go, don't start now. Okay, Tom Brady, we don't need to hear anything from you. Go sit on the sideline somewhere and twiddle your thumbs, okay, because you said you didn't have any say-so in that draft. All right, that's what he said, and I find it interesting because if you pay attention, Sh00ter and Tom Brady's careers almost parallel one another, okay? But y'all know that because Brady was like 199th pick in the 6th round, okay? Even further down than Sh00ter. And then what happened was the starting quarterback got injured and Brady was able to start, and he kept starting after that. They let him keep going. He became the starter, just like Sh00ter. Okay. At the end of the day, Tom Brady is one of those people who smiled in Sh00ter's face. He was supposedly mentoring him, friends with Dion, or so I'm sure they thought, and then just turned into a whole hater. Okay, and then chose the side of the other haters in the NFL who wanted to feel like they needed to teach Dion and Sh00ter a lesson in humility. Okay, you know who Tom Brady reminds me of right now? I'm so glad you asked. He reminds me of the white girl in Roots that Kizzy thought was her best friend, the one who taught her how to read and all of that. And remember how in the end when Kizzy was being sold away from her family, okay, and then she thought that her little white friend who she'd known all her life, she thought that person was going to help her speak up for her because Kizzy was her slave, bought for her specifically. That girl closed her blinds and turned her back, same way Tom Brady did when Sh00ter was being interviewed, okay, before the draft. I want y'all to pay attention. That's who Tom Brady is, okay? That's who he is. So he doesn't need to say anything now as far as I'm concerned. All right, so we're about to be up out of here. But before we do, I want you all to see this video. This video is very, very sad. It just goes to show how women can be low down and dirty and abusive to men as well. This woman did this man so dirty, the poor thing was darn near in tears. He went out and bought 4 buckets of chitlings. Or how do y'all say them, chitterlings? Or whatever. He went out and bought chitterlings, 4 buckets full, cleaned them, all 4 buckets, and cooked them. I think he said it took him about 8 hours to clean. And he cooked those chitterlings and he couldn't wait to eat them. And that witch threw them in the trash. I want y'all to pay attention. It was all so sad. It was all so sad, you guys. Hold on, Dorada said she sure did Queen old hussy. Not a hussy. Yeah, she threw away that man's chitterlings. But anywho, I mean, I don't know if that's more shocking or the fact that people are still eating chitterlings in 2025. But hey, do what you do. TC Dad said you have Ahmadiyyah. Hold on. You gave Ahmadiyyah when you said that, Queen. Chitterlings. Let's go to the footage. It's really sad.
But you know how much I paid for them chitlins. I don't care. And look at her, she don't even care. She don't just. You know how much I paid for them chitlins, y'all? I had about 4 buckets of chitlins, y'all, and I stayed up all night.
He want them chitlins for himself. You eat them.
I don't care. Why you doing? But look, y'all, I cooked up some fufu the other night, and I can't even cook me no chitlins.
Fufu don't stink.
Man, I just.
Chitlins stink. They got boo-boo in them all over everywhere.
No, they don't. Not the way I cook them.
My God.
Man, I don't care, man. Look, y'all. Y'all, I'm telling y'all. I can't even.
You eat the boo-boo.
No, I'm not, man. I can't believe you did this. I'm looking for this receipt, y'all. Look how much I paid for these chitlins. I want y'all to see how much I paid.
You not finna have. My house cost me.
Man, I don't care, girl. I paid $80-something. That's $80 she done threw down the drain. Man, so man, hold on, man. How you gonna do that though, Krista? Huh?
You should have spent $80 on some clothes, not no chitlins.
Chitlins, I was gonna buy me some clothes, but I'm just saying though. I paid for them chitlins. You gonna throw my chitlins away, y'all?
They in the trash. In the trash they go. So that they gonna stink in my house, they gonna get out of here. In the dumpster they must go.
You ain't even let me get a piece. You ain't even let me get one bowl, man. Look,
Well,
y'all.
you didn't find somebody else's house to cook them in.
I can't do nothing up in here, y'all.
You sure?
I can't do nothing. I cooked some damn chitlins last night and she done threw them away.
In the trash, all in, they gone.
But I'm gonna call your mama and tell on you, man. That's wrong.
She ain't gonna say that. She gonna be like, well, I'm glad you threw them chitlins out. They stink. She at work anyway. Sally, you ain't gonna get grandma. She at work. Ha 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 ha. And they stink too. Oh my goodness, no. Got to go. Got to go. And I don't care what nobody say on there. Nope. They out of here. Foo-foo? Yes. Foo-foo can stay here anytime. It don't stink like them chitlins do. Quit ringing her phone.
Man, you wrong, man. Man, I sit up there and cook everything that you want, man.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
I can't even have my doggone chitlin.
You should have cooked them outside on the porch.
How am I cook chitlin outside on the porch? It's
Get
snowing
you a
outside.
portable stove.
It's snowing outside.
Well, it's snowing out. Cook them chitlins outside.
Man, y'all, that's wrong, man. That's wrong. I don't care, man. That's wrong. I do too much up in here, man, for you to throw away my chitlins like that, man.
Out of here today. You might be eating those stank chitlins. Or smell them. Let you.
Lord have mercy, man.
What y'all think about that? That was so low down and dirty, honey. What y'all? Ooh, honey, that was low down and dirty. Here's the thing. Somebody said that they don't blame her or whatever. I do blame her because here's why. First of all, that was low down and dirty. Okay? Reggie said now she's being hateful. She was already being hateful because the thing is, she knew the chitlins stunk when he was in there cleaning them. When he was cleaning them, spent 8 hours cleaning them, and she didn't say anything then. She further didn't say anything after he cooked them or while he was cooking them, because that's when they stink the most, don't they? When you're cooking them, I would think. And then, after he's all done, she goes in there after all his hours of toil and sweat and tears and throws them away. Baby, I would tell you I would have something so low down and nefarious concocted to get her ass back. When I tell you, okay? When I tell you I would have such a master plan to get her back when she least expects it. All right? Because that was beyond nefarious. Now, she knows she could have told that man when he first walked in the house with 4 buckets of chitterlings, she could have said, you're not about to cook that in here. They stink. Take that back to the store and get your money back or go cook it somewhere else. That way, he'd have had an option to go retrieve his money, get a refund. But she sat there, let that man go buy the 4 buckets, clean the 4 buckets, cook the 4 buckets, and then threw them away. Wasted his money and all his hard-earned work. Yeah, that was diabolical if you ask me. And she knew what she was doing. And then listen to the tone of her voice when she was talking to him. She was being very antagonistic. I can't with people like that. Okay, I cannot with people like that, honey. Okay, if that had been me, she might have effed around and found out. That's all I'm saying. But anywho. Leon, what are you talking about? Leon said you marinate in Italian dressing. DeCarlo said that was his fault. He should have asked first, LOL. How's that his fault? If you live somewhere, you would think that you can cook what you want to eat. That wasn't his fault. There's no way you're going to make that anybody's fault but hers. Okay? She shouldn't have thrown that man's stuff away. She should have told him when she first saw him and she didn't want it in there, period. Okay, Purple X said, I don't eat pork. She looked like she stank. She should pay that man for the cost of what he lost in that damn pot. Exactly. She'd have to cough up them $80, baby, and you're going to get a 2-piece and a snack. Okay, you're going to get a 2-piece and a biscuit, or you best to have my $80. Because, girl, I don't play about my coins, right? Oh, Leon said it doesn't smell then. Oh, okay, Leon. So what'd you say put it in? Marinated in Italian dressing. Honey, you might need a whole lot of Italian dressing for a bucket of chitlins. Yikes. Honey, I wish I would clean a bucket of chitlins. Okay, I'm not the one. No, right? I'm not the one. But if you do clean them and cook them, I'm not going to throw them away. But first of all, here's the thing. I don't allow pork in my house anyway. We don't eat pork. We don't buy pork. It's not allowed here. Okay, it's not allowed here. You can't cook chitterlings here. You can't cook pork chops here, pork loins. Okay, you can't cook anything that has anything to do with pork in here. All right, please pay attention. Miss Charlie Ward said, dude, leave. Okay, he needs to. TC Dan said, please come home. I got beans and bologna. Christopher said, chitlins are good. I bet they are. Mad as he was about them. They had to be good. Reggie said, lips that touch swine will never touch mine. Yeah, y'all are terrible. Okay, I'm out of here. I don't have time for this. I don't have time for this. Okay? Sarah just said it's slave food. Leon said, I'm trying to get away from meat. Yeah. Uh-huh. I've already gotten away from it. Okay, so anyway, with that all being said, as a matter of fact, speaking of that, it's time for me to do another vegan cookbook. Okay, so listen. Christopher said we're having so much fun. I know, right? Joy said, same here, Queen. My dad took the family off pork when we were kids. Okay? Ooh, honey, I can't remember when's the last time I ate pork. Ugh. I hate that I ever ate it, okay? I literally hate it. Yikes. Okay, Reggie said the spiritual channel queen. Okay, we got to get on there. Seriously, beloved. Okay, we got to get on there. All right, so maybe this weekend. Listen, I'm out of here. I love you all to life. I hope you enjoy the rest of this evening. Each one teach one. That's how we grow and thrive. Do something productive, constructive, but never destructive. And always remember, beloveds, to keep the Most High first in your lives. Until next time, I will talk to you all again soon. Peace.
With that gold all in my skin, God all in my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you're done. They show no love for the queen. Why you hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans? I got dreams like King Luther, shed blood like Kunsa. You ain't helping my people, I ain't got nothing to say to ya. I want all the smoke like hookah. Talking reparations, America won't be great until they give us compensation. I'm like, I'm the hottest right now. See a bunch of lames out here trying to jock on my style. They be doing too much. I'm the queen, it's too easy. It's like they all at Popeyes, how they be talking so greasy. I just sit back and laugh while these haters get madder. So nefarious how they don't want my pockets with cheddar. I tell them they can do better. These snakes in the grass can leave a bite on your ass, cause y'all be trusting too fast. I got my foot on the gas, other one on they necks. Dropping receipts on haters, you better show some respect. I'm never facing regrets, we only facing the threats. Running through every challenge like a relay, break no sweat. It's a cold game, so I got that blanket with me. Now that my people awaken, ain't no going to sleep. I do not play by my piece. This time I'm playing for keeps. You talking slick, but when I see you like them ends, we gon' meet. And I got gold all in my skin, God all in my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you done. They show no love for the queen. Why they hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans and I got gold all in my skin, God all in my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you done. They show no love for the queen. Why they hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans and I got